Hi there, I'm KingJGrim or KingJGrim, whatever you prefer, and let's quickly talk about For Honor, or more specifically, For Honor's story. The reason for this video, aside from working on in the mind of a certain character, is that while many people have stated their disappointment in the narrative, many are saying that what's the point of having a story if it sucks? Now, if you haven't seen my review of the game, which I highly recommend, I state that the story mode is good. Which I firmly think in a critical way, I believe this. However, when I review a narrative of any kind, whether it be a movie or a video game, I look at many things and I add several factors to the overall score. If I were to say what I felt about For Honor's story mode by only looking at the written narrative, the best I could say would be less than mediocre. Bad, pretty much, as the campaign's biggest problem are the characters. Character is the main driving force of today's storytelling, being able to follow a group or an individual on a journey to grow as a person or people. For Honor does not have good characters. Entertaining ones, sure, but the protagonists of the story do not have names, as you can choose their gender, which I like, but there is no information on them. We have the Warden, who once took an oath to protect the people, because reasons. Is that relatable? The Raider, who wants to unify the Vikings, because I guess Harald Fairhair did it to Norway in real life. That's great. And the Orochi, who's been in prison for speaking against her emperor. Here's an Oscar for screenplay. So we already have a problem here. The three main characters are quite faceless. There is no individualism here. And I can understand why, as these three people clearly exist for the simple reason to be personifications of their represented faction. The Warden represents the peacekeeping knights, protecting the people no matter what. The Raider being the ultimate berserker, pillaging the royal palace of the samurai, forcing the other Viking clans to live with the war-born in peace. As Apollyon herself states,
Viking clans do not truly join one another. Alliances are common, but are just as commonly broken. The war-born clans is just a way of saying all the clans who cannot defeat the war-born in combat.
And lastly the Orochi, serving her daimyo so far that they are willing to die to let Seijuro take their place, as he holds the respect of the samurai troops. Yet while it is cool to have the stereotypical knight, Viking and samurai, it doesn't quite work having them completely blank when the story tries to bring some history to them. Hell, the Raider even states that they have a history with Civ.
Civ. Raider! We had a history. You talk too much.
And that's about it, there's no clarifications, only going straight to Holmgang. Personally, I find the signed characters more interesting as I actually remember some of their names. Runa, Momiji, Jason Statham, etc. However, even they have not that much to them. Stigander, like to say, by Odin's beard. Ayu may apparently be a psychopath, I guess, and Holdencross does have some interesting backstory stuff that you may find here and there, but again, the narrative gives you nothing to these characters, and that's why people seem to dislike it. But saying that this game shouldn't even have bothered? What? I mean, the story is enjoyable to play through, the gameplay makes it so. The music adds to the atmosphere, masterfully crafted cutscenes that are enjoyable to watch, and with its different gameplay sections, it keeps changing up. So the only thing negative with the story mode is the story. But everything else is pretty good. I mean, does that make this a bad single player experience? This reminds me of something I recently experienced myself, as I truly enjoyed a certain movie that people almost universally hated, the main critic being the script. Yet the visuals, music, and the attention to details had me hooked. Sorry about that. Take two. I guess asking the questions of what matters the most in a movie is difficult to say, as the only thing people care about truly is the writing, even though film is visual entertainment. But gaming is different, because as we all can agree on, the most important part of a video game, no matter what, is the gameplay. I mean, it is interactive entertainment, so that's what matters the most, right? There are games out there that I love because of its story, yet hate for its gameplay. Heavy Rain being the best example, having horrible controls and only quick time events, but with its interesting narrative, I couldn't care less about its problems. And it seemed like the majority of people will agree with me on that. But what about when it switches around, when the gameplay is great but the story not so? Does that equal a bad experience? I understand that it truly depends on what the game is advertising. I mean, imagine if Uncharted 4: A Thief's End had an atrocious story but the gameplay was revolutionary. People would be pissed, not giving a damn about the new mechanics. For Honor is a great game, having fantastic gameplay, music and sound design, graphics, yet when looking at its single player mode, people seem to really hate it, calling it bad, cringeworthy and unnecessary. Well, I'll say that it is disappointing, could have been more, but it is enjoyable. There's still something here though, as I mentioned in my review, but there is one thing in particular that I want to talk about, or rather, analyze. Thank you for watching my video, really hope that you enjoyed it. Sorry for a GameDisc when I promised something else, but this series allows me to, give you something to watch if I can't follow my own freaking schedule perfectly, which I just haven't really of yet. I will get used to it, but anyways, next week will be great, as I'm sure you'll enjoy what I have in store, and I promise that will be the final For Honor video. But until then, I'm KingJGrim, or the Game Games, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next time.